Have you ever felt like your characters look slightly off? Well, me too, but I have been drawing faces since kindergarten and now I am confident in my knowledge and I'll try my best to make you master shading. So, without any more procrastination, let's get into the video, shall we? So here is a random face that I just finished drawing. It faces us, or at the camera as I like to call it, to make it easily understandable and to get basics going. In this drawing, I am going to showcase how I shade normally when the lights hits the face in the middle part of it. And for good measure, you don't have to use the colors that I did. I just picked these blue and yellow colors because it is way easier to understand and it is more visible to see the shading. And the final warning before we start shading is to use more layers when you shade. Otherwise, you will smudge the line art. For what I like to do, you must think of the face as a 3D model. It greatly helps you out if you can visualize it, but if you can't or lack practice, then let me tell you where I like to put the lights. It is much more reliable when you start with the main lights and to put the bigger shadows and the lights to the places and then head to the more detailed ones. So that is what I'm going to do. So in the middle of the forehead is going to be lighter due to the curve of it. It is true for the cheekbones as well. You just must know where the cheekbones are. But if you don't know where to put it, then you just draw a circle like this inside your character's face and then it reveals where their cheekbones are. But it only works if your characters have a little bit oval-shaped faces. If your art style has circle faces, then this trick is not going to help you. So now you just put a sketched out C shape of a light on the part of the circle and put this upside down triangle below the eye and a dot to make the chin shinier. Now let me show you where I like to put the shadows with this dark blue color. The first is this line below the cheeks. If you get a picture of a skull, for example, you can clearly tell that it is hollow, so the skin is going to sink in a little bit there, like this. When the light faces in front of the camera, it is important not to put many shadows around the middle part of the face, since that is where the most of the lights is going to go. Now that the main shadows and light are complete, we're just doing some extra lights and shadows just to make it as nice and detailed as we like. First, let's focus on the eyes. There is a little bit of a shadow under the eyes, and I like to leave a little part for the bottom eyelid as well, since that makes the eyes pop more. And around the upper eyelid there is also some shadows, but just like I did with the bottom eyelid, I leave a little part untouched. And finally, between the eyelid and the eyebrow. The next body part that I'm going to shade is the lips. First, let me put some shadows under the lips, since it creates a little bit shadow here and there, and just a touch of light around the cupid's bow. On the lower lip, I put the shadows close to the mouth hole. Ew, that sounds super weird. And on the top lip, I put it super close to the cupid's bow. Now we only need to put some highlights in the middle of the bottom lip and we are done with the mouth, or the lips. For the nose, I like to start with a dark shadow below the tip of a nose. Above that, There is a light beam that goes through the whole nose. And finally, the side of the nose needs to have a little bit of a shading too, since that is the pointiest part of a human's face, so I like to make it extra 3D. I also added some quarter circles that almost connect to the eyebrows and the nose together. The last part of the shading in this case is the outside part of the face. The middle part of the forehead is the one that in this case receives the most amount of lights, so naturally the outside part is going to receive less, making it a little bit darker. If you like dramatic effects like I do, then you can make it a strong color or grab an airbrush and just slightly shade those parts with density lowered. I often make the hairline have a bit of a shade there too, so you can as well. And now let's just smudge all of it out a little bit to make it more soft looking, but that is a stylistic choice. If you like sharp shadows, then you can avoid this part. And when you're smudging the lips and the shadows, you must remember to smudge in the way of the lines to make them keep their shapes, otherwise it is going to be a huge mess and will look ugly. Now if you want to, you can give some blush to your character, but it is important not to overdo it or they will look like they catched a cold. Let's just use small dots, why don't we? And finally, the most important part that I like to do is to lower the opacity a little bit, so then the shading is not too rough and it kinda sinks in with the other layers' colors. And you can always add more shadows or lights in if you feel like it's not perfect. And I am finished. Here are some different places where light can reach your character's face, and you can screenshot it so you can see it back later if you would like to. The grey color that I add as a bonus is a slightly darker shade than the skin you are using. It is a slightly in shadow, but it isn't a complete one. And here is what my boyfriend drew with using this tutorial. He knows nothing about art. He never drew a picture in his life for like 10 years now. And I really wanted to test it out, how easily understandable and recreatable this tutorial video is. So I hope it is going to work for you too, and I hope you find this video interesting, and if you did, then you should definitely consider subscribing and liking the video. Maybe leave some comments too about what do you think of this method. But I was Crowdonmind, and I'll see you all in the next video of mine. But until then, have an amazing day and goodbye.